Hi, hello. Welcome to Aishu Vlog channel. Today we are going to discuss about the chapter 1, which is cloud concepts for the exam Microsoft Azure Fundamentals, which is AZ-900. If in case you are preparing for the Microsoft Azure Fundamentals, then this video is for you. So let's get started. So before we move on to the chapter 1, let's recap the overall scope of AZ-900 exam. There are 6 sections overall in this Azure exam. First is Cloud Concepts. Second chapter, Core Azure Services. Third chapter explains about the core solutions and the management tools in Azure. Fourth chapter is General Security and Network Security Features. Fifth chapter is Identity, Governance, Privacy and Compliance Features. And the last chapter is Azure Cost Management and Service Level Agreements. And the weightage is given for each chapter as shown in the brackets. So the highest weightage goes for the first chapter, which is Cloud Concepts. So let's get started. So what we have in this chapter, Cloud Concepts. The first thing is the benefits of cloud computing, which is high availability, scalability, elasticity, agility, and disaster recovery. And then we have the difference between two expenditure types, which is CapEx and OpEx. And then we have the consumption-based model and shared responsibility model. Then we have different types of services, which is infrastructure as service, platform as service, software as service, and the differences between each of them. Then we have serverless computing and what kind of service we need to use based on our business need. And what is cloud computing? Difference between 3 types of cloud computing: public, private, and hybrid. These are the contents we have in chapter 1. Now we'll see each one of them in detail. The first one, which is cloud computing advantages. Before we talk about the advantages, let's see what is cloud computing. We have n number of Azure products which uses the cloud technology. Instead of having all the resources in our location, which is on premises, rather moving everything into a cloud account and managing all your resources there. That is called cloud computing. By moving all our resources in cloud computing gives the following benefits. First is high availability, which means less downtime, and Azure confirms their availability as 99.99 for most of its resources. If it is 99.99%, that means we'll have only 4 minutes of downtime per month, which will be really useful for high productivity. Next is scalability. It has the feature of expanding vertically as well as horizontally whenever there is a need. That means if in case there is a need in increasing the storage, it will be auto-scaled, or if we need more than one VM, then it will be auto-scaled. That is scalability. Next is elasticity. In scalability, the resources will be always increased based on the demand. But the elasticity means whenever there is a need of expanding, it will be increased. And whenever there is no need of your resources, it will be decreased. That is called elasticity. Then we have agility. That means we will be able to deploy and configure all our resources quickly based on the requirements changes. That is agility. Geo-distribution. That means Azure Cloud Technology has n number of resources which is distributed across the world. Then we have disaster recovery, which means whenever there is a disaster, Azure will make sure to have your data in a safe backup procedure. So that's all we have for cloud computing advantages. We'll move to the next topic. Next is CapEx versus OpEx. That is capital expenditure and operating expenditure. Capital expenditure means whatever the expenses we do upfront while setting up an office or like a lease agreement. So whatever we spend in the beginning, that is called CapEx. Example, building, computers, equipment, those things are considered as CapEx. Whereas OpEx means whatever the expenses we do on a monthly basis. That is called as OpEx. Example, the monthly EB bills. So whatever we are consuming, we will pay only for that on a monthly basis. That is called OpEx. So let's move to the next topic. Consumption-based model and sharing responsibility model. Consumption-based means pay as you go. If in case we're joining in a gym, so we'll have some fixed membership amount. That is fixed price model. Whereas in some other gyms, we will pay only for the days we utilize the gym. That will come under consumption-based model. So as your resources are coming under the consumption-based model, whatever we use, we will pay only for what we consumed on a monthly basis. It can be a server, it can be any storage account, it can be a VM, it can be anything which comes under Azure resource. Then sharing responsibility model. We have 3 different services like software as service, infrastructure as service, platform as service. So here, this picture depicts who is responsible for which activity in all those 3 models. Whereas in on-premises, whatever things we have in our own location, that will be purely taken care by us, that is customer. And whatever the light blue color here, that will be taken care by Microsoft. And some of the responsibilities will be shared both by customer as well as Microsoft. So make sure you just understand the difference between the responsibilities for each of the services. Let's move to the next topic. We have 3 types of services as said earlier. So what is infrastructure as a service? When we have a complete control over any Azure service, like virtual machine. In real-time exam, there will be some examples given and we need to pick the type of service it is. So this is one of the important topics to study. The second service is Paas, platform as a service. The examples for Paas service or app services, web apps, SQL database. Here, we will not have control on the hardware, rather we'll be given platforms to run our code. That's why it's called as platform as a service. And what is software as a service? That is an application which will be completely managed by your cloud provider. Example, we have Azure Portal, Outlook 365, Windows Virtual Desktop, Azure DevOps. We will only have access to that software and we just need to configure it. And we will use our data to enter into the application. So we'll have control only to that level. That is software as a service. Now we'll move on to the next topic. Serverless computing. Serverless computing helps developers to build the application faster by eliminating the need for them to manage the infrastructure. So completely we can pass the responsibility of managing the infrastructure to your cloud provider. That is called as serverless computing. In this, all the infrastructure provisioning and management will be invisible to the developer so that they can concentrate on other important activities like focusing on business logic, delivering more value to the core of the business. Due to this technology, it will help to bring our products to market faster and we can stay focused on our innovation. In serverless computing, the example are functions, logic apps. Those will come under serverless computing technology. Let's move to the next topic. Different types of cloud. What is public, private, and hybrid cloud? From the name, we can understand that public cloud means the cloud services which are provided over the public internet, like the servers and storage. Those will be operated by a third-party cloud service and delivered to you over the internet. That is called public cloud. Even Azure comes under public cloud model. Whereas private cloud means that cloud technology will be used only to a specific set of users or to a specific company, specific organization, where we own the hardware and we'll have the exclusive benefits of it. We'll have access to use the hardware. Hybrid cloud. Hybrid cloud is a combination of both public and private cloud, where private networks and servers will be in on-premise location, whereas we will be using the public cloud for some of the items. And the advantage is unlimited, inexpensive growth benefits of public cloud. This diagram depicts the difference between the public, private, and hybrid cloud. Public, it means the public internet, as we discussed, and private cloud is private to any organization. And you can see the hybrid cloud means a combination of public and private cloud. So we are done for chapter 1. We have covered all the topics which comes under AZ-900. Chapter 1. If in case you have any queries, please comment. We will make sure to answer your queries. And all the reference links will be given in description. So don't forget to check out the description for any reference links. So now we will move on to the second chapter, which is core Azure services. So this chapter has the weightage of 15 to 20%. The second most highest priority amongst all this, 6 chapters. So this chapter contains the concepts of regions, region pairs, availability zones, resource groups, subscriptions, management groups, Azure Resource Manager. Also, it contains the benefits and usage of virtual machines, Azure App Services, Azure Container Instances, Azure Kubernetes Service, and Azure Virtual Desktop. And then virtual networks, VPN gateway, virtual network peering, and express route. And different types of storage accounts, container storage, disk, file, and storage tiers. And different types of DB such as Cosmos DB, Azure SQL Database, Azure Database for MySql, Azure Database for PostgreSQL, and SQL Managed Instance. And finally, the Azure Marketplace. So, what is region? Region is nothing but a geolocation. In Azure, there are around 60 plus Azure regions across the world. So a region is nothing but a location where our data centers are placed. What is region pair? Each region will be paired with one other region so that if in case there is a disaster in first region, then all the data or the backup will be done in the second region. Usually, the distance between the first region and its pair will be 300 miles away. Example, if there is a region in US, which is US East, then there will be a region pair which is 300 miles away from East US, like North US. That is called region pair. Availability zone. It is just the physically separated data center, but located within one Azure region. Each availability zone will have an independent power, cooling, and network feature. In each region, there will be a minimum of 3 availability zones, so that if one goes down, then the other will continue to work on the cloud services. This is the picture where it depicts about region, region pair, and availability zone. So each, this light blue color, that is region, and inside each region, we can see 3 availability zones. And 2 Azure regions are connected. That is region pair, which is 300 miles away from each other. So this is the whole concept behind region, region pair, and availability zone. Next is resources, resource groups, subscriptions, management groups. What are resources? Resources are nothing but various types of Azure resource. Like it can be a virtual machine, can be a storage account, or it can be a SQL database. What is resource groups? It's nothing but a combination of one or more resources. Like if you see in the second picture, there are different types of resources combined in one place in a folder, which is called resource group. What is subscription? It's just the billing unit for Azure. And each person or organization can have many subscriptions. And what is management groups? To manage all the subscriptions, we can use management groups. And whatever subscription we inherit, that will automatically apply to all the subcategories under this branch. And if you see the third picture, the Azure account may have one or more Azure subscription, one for dev, one for accessing test, and one for production. So this is the hierarchy between all these 4 levels. So the resources is the lowest level, then to resource groups, then resource groups to subscriptions, then subscriptions to management groups. There will be 1 or 2 questions around this with yes or no statements. So this is one of the important topics to concentrate. Next is Azure Resource Manager. So whatever resources we have, that can be deployed and managed using this ARM. And the template will be in JSON format. Whatever the source can be, it can be Portal or PowerShell or SDK, but ARM will help to run the command and executing it. As shown in this picture, there are different ways of incoming sources like Azure Portal, Azure PowerShell, Azure CLI, and REST clients. But everything is managed by this management layer, Azure Resource Manager. And these are the various Azure resources. Next is the Azure services like virtual machines, app services, Kubernetes services. So now we'll see about that. So the virtual machines. The virtual machines exactly looks, acts, feels, stays like a real server in front of you. The only difference is it will be available in cloud environment instead of available in on-premise. And this is a kind of IaaS, infrastructure as a service. In real time, I got a question where the VM is given and the type of service that I need to choose. So make sure you are familiar with each type of service and example for each service. Next is Azure App Services. It helps to build, deploy various levels of web, mobile, and API apps. And it is an example for PaaS, Platform as a Service. Next is Azure Container Instance. It helps to create a container in Azure. And it is the quickest way to compare to other service. And Azure Kubernetes Service. It is similar to Azure Container Instance, but if in case we need to run in multiple instances in virtual machine scale sets, then Kubernetes is the best choice. That is the difference between Azure Container Instance and Azure Kubernetes Service. Azure Virtual Desktop. It's a desktop and app virtualization that runs in cloud. Also, it's a hosted version of Windows in cloud, so that users can log into Windows from any device and see their installed programs and files in it. So these are the 5 different Azure services under this chapter. Now we will see about the different types of networks for Azure. First is virtual networks. All virtual machines will be connected to a virtual network subnet, and then it allows them to talk to each other and to the internet. VPN gateway. Usually there will be questions around this with the word encryption. So the type of network which we need to select after seeing the word encryption is VPN gateway. So it is a device that allows encrypted private communication between a single computer or a network of servers to an Azure network. That is where we are using VPN gateway. Virtual network peering. It just connects 2 or more virtual networks in Azure. Next is express route. It is completely a private connection. That is the keyword for express route. It helps to connect your Microsoft Cloud networks to on-premises networks, but over a private connection. That is the difference when compared to other network types. This is the picture where we can see the concept behind VPN gateway as well as network peering. Here, UDR is nothing but user-defined routing. It is a significant update to Azure's virtual network as it allows network admins to control the routing tables between subnets within a VNet as well as between VNets. This helps to understand the difference between VPN gateway as well as network peering. This picture depicts about the virtual network gateway and how it is connected to a VPN device. And the second picture depicts about the express route circuit and how it helps to connect the Azure resources with the customer's network. It is purely a private peering connection. Different types of storage accounts in Azure. First is container storage, then disk, file, and then we have storage tiers. Blob storage is nothing but when we want to store a massive unstructured data, then we can go for blob storage. As we see in this picture, an account and then it is divided to containers, and then the container contains a different data like images, files, and so on. So the keyword here is massive unstructured data. And disk storage. The data when we want to store in virtual machines, then we can go for disk storage. As shown in this pic, this VM has the disk data type OS disk and data disk. Next is file storage. A managed cloud file share accessible by SMB as well as SAS. SMB is nothing but standard server message block, and SAS is nothing but shared access signature. So here you can see between Western US and Europe, there is a file share and Azure file share is used using SMB for different types of users. Next is storage tiers. We have hot, cool, and archive tiers. Hot is used when the data is frequently accessed. Cool is used when your data is not accessed frequently. Archive is the lowest tier where the data is very rarely used, but the cost behind to retrieve the data in archive is very high. Different types of DB. First is Cosmos DB. It is a storage designed for very smaller pieces, and when we need to store them quickly, then we can go for Cosmos DB. As you see in this picture, whenever a developer is frequently updating the catalog in an online course, then it gets stored in Cosmos DB, where the end users or trainers will be able to see the changes made by the developer. So in that kind of situation, we can go for Cosmos DB. Next is Azure SQL database. It is again under Paas, and it is compatible with SQL Server. As you see in this pic, Azure SQL DB is used to store these kind of informations like personal manager information, student study materials, certification details, training transcripts. Next is Azure SQL database for MySql, and it is managed MySql database in Azure. Similarly, the Azure SQL database for PostgreSQL is managed PostgreSQL database in Azure. And SQL managed instance is nothing but a scalable cloud database platform. Here we can see the picture about the MySQL server. How it works from different sources like Azure CLI, Azure Portal, and Custom Management App. How it is getting connected and how it acts as the central repository. That we can see in the first picture. And in Azure SQL Managed Instance, the migration is very easy when we have a situation to move our data from on-premises to the cloud using the DMS concept, that is data migration, service, and the steps are discover, assess, migrate, cut over, and optimize as shown here. So Azure SQL Managed Instance can be used when we need to migrate some data. And we compare to other services, this is the easiest one for migration. Finally, Azure Marketplace, a place for Microsoft and third parties to offer their own solutions that are compatible with Azure. We can find lots of vendors like Cisco and Citrix and so on. Example like include managed network firewall appliances and connectors to third-party backup services. This image is from Azure portal where you can see the Azure Marketplace. So this is similar to how we have the Market Store or the Play Store in our mobile phones. Similarly, to get the different third-party provider solutions in Azure portal, we can go for Azure Marketplace. In real time, I got a question for this Azure Marketplace definition. So make sure you are familiar with this concept. Hope you guys find this video useful. If in case you need any reference links, and make sure to check our description. Please don't forget to subscribe our channel. Also give a thumbs up if you like it. And please don't forget to share this video with your friends who are planning to do AZ-900. See you all in next video where we'll be discussing about the upcoming chapters in AZ-900. Until then, bye.